Hi everybody, this is Cherish. Welcome to the video. I'm super excited this week because someone requested that I go over panel preparation or substrate preparation. Substrate is basically anything that you paint on. So I think I'm going to do that for this video. It's probably going to be the short version, and then I'll put the longer version onto my Patreon for free so you guys can check it out there. I'm really excited about it because preparing panels is kind of a passion. I love it. I actually, in my practice, when it comes to panel prep time, I take about a week out of any sort of other production to make panels. So I kind of concentrate on panels and then I work on my sketchbook if I need to work on something. So let's talk about tools. Tools are honestly the thing that makes panel prep go well. And there's so many different types of tools that you can use that will help it to go well and that will keep you from going crazy. Let's get into it. So some of the things that I use for panel prep are these nice big, like bristly brushes. I love these brushes. I think I got this on Amazon and then this one at Home Depot. So Home Depot, go to Home Depot for your big brushes. This is a 3-inch brush. I don't remember how much it was, but it couldn't have been that much. So get your bristle brushes. And I think the difference between the bristle brush and other types of brushes just depends on the finish that you want. I also have other brushes from Home Depot that I will use when prepping a panel or prepping a canvas. And it just depends on what you want to get out of that prep. This past prep that I just completed, I wanted everything to be super smooth. So I ended up using this squeegee brush. I think I got this on Amazon. But it's a squeegee brush, and it's literally, at the end, it's just like a rubber tip, and you can squeegee on the paint media. And they sell it in different sizes. So, and honestly, I've seen people use them as their paint brushes, so just get them. And then the other thing that I used during this panel prep was the Blick Essentials 1-inch, brush for some of the littler panels to get things going. And then there was one more, and then I have this like catalyst wedge. It's like a squeegee. So I think especially when you're doing canvas preparation, this is really good because you can literally just spread the gesso on without having to worry about the actual tool leaving a mark. At most, it's going to leave marks between each swipe that you've completed, but at the best, it's going to help you to like just spread it on really evenly. I did use a couple other things now that I think about it. So I used these craft sticks. They basically to me look like tongue depressors or popsicle sticks. I use this to mix up the gesso because some gessos will separate a little bit. So I have a gesso from Blick that's very watery, so it'll kind of separate a little bit. So I just use this, or honestly a very large stick that I have, to mix that gesso up, and it helps to make sure that everything's combined and it's ready to go. But also I can use it to scoop out some gesso and like apply it, and use this the same way that I use the squeegee. The other one are these paint rollers for like fine finish paint rollers. This paint roller was amazing, while this one was not. So I had a lot of fights with this one this time, but I like this kind of, this is so old. I don't even know if they sell this kind anymore, but this basically leaves a really, really smooth finish with very few little bumps and ridges. This one was supposed to do the same thing as this one, but it was leaving a really, really ridged appearance, and I don't know why, but I love this. And honestly, if you have a really, really big canvas or panel or something, you're gonna want to use rollers. They're the best. And by stick for mixing my paint, I literally mean a stick. Okay, the next thing that you're going to want is some sort of surface, something to paint on. That's where you can get, for example, I have, honestly, this is one of those 12 or 24 by 48 pieces of plywood the super thin. I call it a door skin because basically this is what they make doors out of. And you just get that and prep one side, leave the other side raw, and get to going with it. One thing that I will do with these, well, two things that I do, is on both sides, I put on PVA size. And the PVA size will seal the wood for you so that, you know, basically it's about it, you know, wearing down. So you want to seal both sides so that you don't create a problem over time. The other thing that I do on the back is I put the size, because I cut these myself. I have a table saw, so I will cut these myself, and then I forget what size they were. So I will put that on there. And to be honest with you, you get, you know, a couple of sheets of that. You can buy the big ones, the 8-foot ones, like this on the wall is just a full-size sheet, this big one. And then just cut that down. But it's a lot easier to get it into your car if it's cut down. So you could do two things. One, you could just buy the big sheet. You can literally get the big sheet, and at Home Depot, get them to cut it into smaller pieces for you. I don't know if they will do a lot of pieces, but you can definitely get them to cut it into smaller pieces. The other thing is you can buy the smaller pieces, which I think are like $12 each or something like that. The last thing is the Home Depot has figured out that artists are doing these things. So they will actually have some. I think I bought some that were like 10 by 10 that were basically this for $5. And that obviously saves on cutting time and all that fun stuff. I also go to a Home Depot that's really close to an art school, so I don't know if that plays into the thing, you know. Another surface that you can get is a canvas panel, so there's two types. So this is literally the one that I bought that was $5, and you can see I've already prepped it and painted on or put a color on one side. The other thing is they have linen panels or primed panel, oil primed panel. This is 9 by 12 oil primed linen panel from Centurion. I love these. They're really nice. The back is all super clean and everything. And I love painting on linen. So having this is really lightweight. So it also fits in a carrier if you want to carry it around. And it's really easy to like get it going because it's literally already primed. So you can cut out a lot of the work and just get started on it. Even if it's primed, I will also prime it myself. And I should probably say there's a difference between gessoing and priming. So the gessoing is the thing that seals the panel or the whatever you're working on, and the priming is like the thing you're going to paint on. And you don't have to do both. You can do one and just be fine. Just do gesso and you'll be fine. Okay, next up is paper. Hold on. So I have paper so this is what I take in the car with me if I am going to go paint outside and I'm going to paint on paper. I will take, basically this is a hot press Arches watercolor paper, and I've taped it to the board. I think I have, this one I just taped with the blue tape. I do have other tape. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know that I have a whole thing about tape, but I'll tape it with like a finer tape, like low tack tape, and then add another strip of this blue tape to hold it on. And I also take another step with this, and I put a coat of Liquitex clear gesso plus water, and then sanded it with 1000 grit sandpaper, which makes it the smoothest surface ever, because you know it already started off as smooth, but when you put on that gesso, it gets a little gritty. So I sand it back down because I love a smooth surface. And you can see here I did a little test to see what would happen if I put down some watercolor, and it sticks really well. One thing about this that I really like in comparison to just having the raw paper is when I'm out painting, I have it up on an easel like this, so it's, you know, vertical, and it doesn't drip off when I do this prep. So I love that. I love that so much. You can also have canvas panels. So this is a panel that I bought from Blick, pre-made, so I don't have to make the panel, which is, you know, saves me time. And then on the other side, I have my painting. Look how pretty that is. Let's just pause for the painting. Yay! I'm gonna put this up on my website soon, but look at how pretty that is, okay? I'm in love with it. I wanna keep it for myself. But you can see that this is the 10 by 10 size, and you can see how nice that looks as far as finish, as far as like, you know, painting as product. And I just love that. I also do a paper preparation where same size panel, only this time it's prepped with paper. You can see I kind of already sprayed a little like mid-tone color on there. But same panel, different prep, okay? And I'm gonna get into this in more detail because I just geek out over this whole thing. The other thing I would say you probably need as a tool that I didn't put on the tools list is some tape, some blue tape or whatever. And really this just protects the panel itself from the drippies. If you don't care about the drippies, then don't put tape on it, you know? If you don't care about the drippies, don't put tape on it. That's just my opinion. That's how I work. Because like, look at the edge with all that would go down the panel. And if I take a little bit off, let's see, there, you can see it's completely clean, which is what I love. I love it to be completely clean. So when you see it, I'll just take this down a little bit more. You see it on your wall, you're gonna see that painting, and then you're gonna see that clean panel on the side, which makes me supremely happy, you know? Now, I have done paintings where I've left the side of the panel exposed and it was drippy, and I was fine with that too. But this is where I am in my journey, is that I like the sides to be clean. And I've got aluminum, so I actually did an aluminum panel this time. And it's funny because both sides are, one side is gray, one side is white on these aluminum panels. So I literally had to write on the back of this one, back. And then 24 by 24, so that's the size of it. And I like the aluminum I think when I go bigger, I'll probably do it in aluminum because it's super lightweight. You know, it's not gonna weigh me down or anything. But also, the bendability of it and the durability of it is gonna be top notch because it's aluminum. It's never gonna degrade in the way that wood would degrade. And that is a new substrate for me. So I haven't ever painted on it, but I'm excited to try it. And you can treat it like the wood panel, where you can attach paper to it, you can do gesso on it, you can attach linen or canvas to it. You can still do the things that you want to do with it. It's just your substrate, the actual strength is aluminum and not wood or some other thing. Okay, the other thing I'll say is you probably need some cling wrap. So, not cling wrap, it's like wax paper. You can get it from the grocery store. But it's wax paper, and what I like to do with this is I'll wrap my paintings in the wax paper. And then when I'm storing them, they don't stick to each other. They don't, you know, if something rubs up against it, it's fine. I think this is just one of those preventative things that you do in order to keep everything nice and tidy while it's waiting to be printed or painted or whatever you're going to do with it. What do you put on your panels? I think that's the next step. What do you put on your panels? So for anything with wood, PVA size. I use this on everything with wood to seal the wood. So this is the thing that protects the wood from, you know, peeling and doing all the things. Also, you can oil paint directly on this, so you can also use this on paper to just start painting on paper if you want to, or painting with oils on paper. I use a spray bottle for any paper or whatever, because the paper, if you're going to stretch it, you probably need to spray both sides and then you can, you know, staple it on. Or if you're going to affix it to a panel, it's good for the paper to be slightly damp because then it'll be more moldable to the surface. Clear gesso is my baby daddy. I'm just kidding. Clear gesso is my best friend. I like this Liquitex clear gesso. I always buy the biggest one. So buy the biggest clear gesso, buy the biggest paper, or whatever because then you don't have to go back every 5 minutes to get it. But I love a clear gesso. I use it on wood prep if I want to see the wood. Hold on a sec, I'll show it to you. So that is a gessoed, this is prepped with PVA size first, and then 3 coats of gesso with lots and lots of sanding, and it's perfectly smooth, but you can still see the wood grain. You can still see the wood grain, and you can still get that it's like the wood itself is that medium tone that you want to start with. So it's almost like the wood is your that first color or that first, you know, thing that you're reacting to on the panel. And also, if you don't paint super opaquely, it's another, like, it can glow through, which I'm all about that glow, okay? Okay, next up for paper preparation. So paper, I use, for paper, let's see. For paper, I use the PVA size if I want to paint on it with something like oil paint. For big pieces, the one that I just showed you with the big attachment, this one is Liquitex plus water, so it makes this really nice slooshy formula, and it works really great on paper, and you can paint right on top of it with your gouache watercolor, and I think it makes it grabs on a little bit more. I feel like the paintings on this with the Liquitex are more saturated because it's also not sinking into the paper as much. Really like that. The other thing that I've been trying out is this Daniel Smith watercolor ground. So I have the buff titanium and I have the transparent. So this one is clear, looks like nothing. This one is buff, kind of looks like that wood surface. And I really like how these sit on top of the paper, and they do the thing again where it looks more saturated, like a drawing or a painting looks more saturated when I'm using this. Gessoing canvas, gessoing wood panel, linen, anything like that, you can use gesso on the bottom. So this is a gesso. So this will seal your canvas and your primer. This is Utrecht, and I got it at Blick. It's really funny, the Utrecht store used to be down the street from my house until they closed down and Blick bought them. But you can do acrylic artist gesso, and I will always do a gesso underneath a primer. I will never just go in with a primer and like hope for the best, you know? I always err on the side of I'd rather do more to the panel to prep it than do less, and then, you know, later on you have an issue. So gesso first. This one, they're always so super stuck, but I try to keep the edges clean because otherwise next time you open it, it's horrible. So this one looks like ice cream. This one is like not going anywhere. I like this consistency because it's so thick and so creamy. It looks like face cream or ice cream, something kind of cream. But I put this on first. I love this one on first. And then that one will usually get like 2 coats, 3 coats, and some sanding. And then I will follow with a primer. So primer, this is a Michael Harding primer, and it's acrylic primer. So this can go in on top. And I do like to put on at least 3 coats of the primer. And you're gonna put this on in thinner coats and build it up so that you can kind of how do I want to say it? You can manage the what actually is happening to your panel. So if you want it to be completely, I'm trying to find one that I used a primer on. If you want it to be completely, so this is the Michael Harding primer on the big aluminum panel. So look at how pretty that is. So it's a really even gray, which I love. So this one was gesso, and then 3 coats of primer, and in between each coat of primer, sanding. And I actually sand with 3 different sandpapers, so I'll get into that in a minute. So I love a primer. And I also have a clear primer from Michael Harding, which I really like. I could use this one, or I use the Liquitex. And then once you've done all those fun things, then you can add like a color. So on this one, this piece, I have added now a color. So this was the gray primer. You can see how smooth and nice it is. And then I've painted on this color. I actually painted 2 ground colors there, and then I've started to draw on it. And the reason why I like it smooth is because it makes the drawing easier. The next thing you probably need is a little bucket or some sort of vessel. What I found was that it was a lot easier for me to just take all the wet brushes and the wet things and the rollers and just put a little bit of water in here and then put all that stuff in the bucket, so that I didn't have to like I had to, you know, just put it in there, and I wouldn't have to worry about something going bad, you know, getting super crusty. Sandpaper is probably the most important part, so I like these little sandpaper bricks that you can get from Home Depot. I think this is 200 grit. And then after the 200, I do have a 400 grit, so I have another one that's 400 grit. And, oh wait, 320, 400, 1,000, and then 3,000 is my highest grit sandpaper. So I like to, as I go, get into the sandpaper, because the more, I guess, the first layer is going to be really bumpy if you're not good at applying things smoothly, but the subsequent layers should get thinner and thinner, and they should be easier to sand the high parts off. You don't want to sand it like crazy. You don't want to go crazy with the sanding. You just want to get the high points sanded, so that when you are finally into the painting or into the drawing or something, you're not fighting with the smoothness of your surface while you're trying to draw or paint whatever you're trying to draw or paint. You want to have your surface be whatever smoothness you like. Some people like it rough. They don't sand it. They don't do anything. They just apply it and go. And some people sand until sanding can't be sanded anymore. There's an artist that I took a workshop from, Doriel Cami. She uses a radial sander, and her surface is so smooth, like paper silky smooth, that is just beautiful. I prefer to sand by hand. That's just me, but I'm weird that way. I'm weird in that I will sand it by hand if I have to, and most of the time I want to, because I will test out all the surfaces by just running the pads of my fingers along the surface, because you can literally feel how smooth it is, and it'll for me, it hits a point where it's like, yeah, oh, that's so good. Thank you so much for watching the video. I appreciate you, and I appreciate that you're still here. I am going to probably continue this conversation about panels, because obviously I did a lot of talking about what you need and what you do, but not how you do it. So the how you do it, I am definitely going to just post that raw footage over to my Patreon, because it's literally just me making a ton of panels, and then I'll come back here and talk about it a little bit more. Have a great week. I will see you next week.